Hey everyone, Van 8 Ryan here, and I decided for this St. Patrick's Day, I was going to talk about another movie pitch idea that I had for a sequel to one of the Leprechaun movies. And much like it, I'm always a fan of Warwick Davis and these movies, especially Leprechaun 3 is probably my favorite. But one of the sequel ideas that was going around for a while was doing a Leprechaun movie in the Old West, and I think Warwick Davis did have some input on that. But I think the biggest promoter of that was uh, I think his name is Darren Lynn Bosman, and he's the guy that does. He did a lot of the Saw series. He did Saws 2 through 4, and he did Spiral, the Book of Saw. But I think one of his biggest ideas was doing it a movie in the Old West, and I personally thought that was an interesting idea too. But my idea for Lep into the West is what I called it, and one of the things I really wanted to try to do with that outline, I only did an outline. I never wrote any of this actual script. Was to set it in one of those Wild West shows, like one of those freak show carnival kind of things, where there'd be a Buffalo Bill Cody kind of character, which I always said the Bill Paxton type because I always saw him as a kind of character for that. It would have started in Ireland with a guy once again still in the goat, but we would have seen that classic shot of the leprechaun going down the steps to count the gold coins in his little cauldron, and it would have been taking place in that little area, but you would have found out it was underground underneath a giant a giant M in Ireland, and it would have just taken that little bit where it'd be a guy still in the goat and running through this whole kind of goony maze, but being tormented by the leprechaun spells before he finally broke out, got on his horse, and rode away. And you did it. I will find me gold. And then we go back into Nevada. We would state the year. It would be around 1882 is I think what my date was for this. And you would end up in the carnival, and we would be introduced to all these characters, particularly our main characters, which is I can't remember their names now, but they were a married dwarf couple. The guy is a stunt man who is pretty much in this kind of little big man kind of show where he is a miniature Indian with flaming arrows, running around on a little pony, and he's fighting off against a giant kind of John Wayne kind of type, but the guy is 7 feet tall, and just the whole thing David and Goliath, where the David character was always winning, where the Indian would always get shot down and stuff like that, and his wife is the local fortune teller who kind of is literally magical and goes through the whole thing through that. And it would have been they're trying to break away from the show and find a little ranch to homestead, and it would have been they're trying to escape the show, but they can't really because they don't have enough financial stability to do it, and she's pregnant, and it would have gone through the man who had stolen the gold from Ireland uh, is now cursed with bad luck, and he's pretty much trying to get rid of this gold however he can. And back and forth, I didn't write a lot of the kills in this, but I did write one particular one where the leprechaun is pretty much the tall Paul character who is the 7 foot. It would have ended up with him getting decapitated, and the leprechaun would have said timber with a headless corpse falling to the ground, and it would have ended with uh, a big dragon fight where the leprechaun literally becomes a flying monster by the end, and this lone guy has to finally win, but ends up sacrificing himself in the process. And the only real thing would have been like I would have added like a little bit of lore to where they said in Leprechaun 3, if you take one of the gold coins, you can earn a wish. And one of the things I actually put in was like if you spill a drop of your blood onto one of the coins, it will become like a talisman, much like a four-leaf clover that will like can be used against the leprechaun. And that was like the only real new thing that I had with the lore of these movies, and I think they made up everything like with every equal one. But that was my idea for like a Leprechaun in the Wild West kind of movie. I think it would have been fun, and I think like a lot of people would have had fun with that. So those were my ideas for Leprechaun 7: Lep into the West. Take care, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day.